Hey everyone, Prof Sales, and tonight we are coming at you with a show about accounting myths and reselling. And I have my accountant and my good friend Jared on. Jared, how you doing?
I'm good, Jason. How are you?
Good. So glad you came on the show. Thanks for coming on and doing this. And there's a lot of people that are going to get a lot out of this. So thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
So Jared and I, we met about 6, 7 months ago, I guess, and I found him through an ad, believe it or not, when I was looking for a new accountant. And we kind of hit it off right from the very beginning. I realized I had a lot of accounting issues in my business and tax preparation issues and just business structure issues, business planning that I really wasn't addressing. And I met with Jared, and we, right from the very first meeting, I had just like a good vibe about him. I was like, you know what? I'm going to see where this goes. And man, we've had like a great business relationship so far, Jared. So I think it's been an awesome start, don't you?
Absolutely. I mean, I couldn't ask for a better client. You you are definitely, one of my top clients. You're compliant, you're timely with your responses. I love working with you. I love what you do, and I love the community that you support too. So, it's been a
Well,
real fun ride so far.
well, thank you for that. And you've been a big part of that, no doubt. And that's something, that I think when you find the right accountant, you can depend on them for not just, bookkeeping advice and tax advice, but also just, general advice about your business and helping guide you to whatever levels you want to go. But we thought tonight we would tackle some accounting myths that are out there that I know in the reselling community are prevalent. I'm probably even guilty of a couple of these. And so we're going to go through those. We have 7 of them for you that Jared and I have talked about a little bit. But I wanted to give Jared a few moments just to kind of explain, a little bit about who he is and his background, and then we'll jump into these myths. So Jared, take it away.
Yeah. So, I've been in the accounting field for about 10 years. I'm a CPA. Um, right after school, I started working in big business, did that for the better part of my career. And within the last couple of years, just realized I really enjoy working with the smaller entrepreneur, the main street style businesses. So I started working here locally in Charlotte with some of my current clients, and was able to really add value by giving them tax advice, giving them tax strategy, just helping them keep their small businesses in line. And, within the last year, I've kind of broken out on my own, started my practice full time. And now here I am just helping everyday small businesses like you kind of keep the machine going well, and keeping things on track the way they should be to the best advantage for you and your business.
That's great. And that is a really accurate description of what Jared does. I can tell you 100% that he has been a great benefit to my business, and just phone conversations and so on, not just about accounting, but about business structure and strategy and all kinds of things. So I think that's what you can look for in an accountant. But today we wanted to attack some myths. And I've been guilty of a few of these, as I mentioned earlier, but I wanted to set these up and let Jared tackle these. And we're just going to go right down the list. We have 7 of them for you today, so make sure you stay around for all of them, because they're all very relevant, I think, especially in this community. The first myth we have is that my accountant needs to be in the same state as me. And I think there's a lot of people out there who believe that, Jared. They believe, hey, I want to find an accountant, but I live in such and such town. I just can't find one I like. Or I'm in a larger city and there's just so many, I don't even know how to narrow it down and begin. So why is this a myth about your accountant need to be in the same state?
I think it kind of goes back to, way back. If you think back 20, 30 years ago, let's strip out technology, the internet, and the fact that, we can talk to somebody on the other side of the world at that point. it was common for you to have to deal with the local CPA firm, the local accountant, to do all of your work, to do your taxes, keep your books, anything that you needed done accounting wise. Nowadays, it's just not the case. I've got clients all over the country, all over the United States, from California to New York to Florida. None of them have an issue with that remote workforce. And there are very few restrictions for most accountants to do that type of work. Some of the states have their own nuances and their own regulations, but for the most part, there's really not a restriction. The only restriction is, does the client want that type of relationship? And from my perspective, if I want top quality service, I'm willing to go to the end of the earth to find it. And if that means working with a guy 2,000 miles away, that might be what it comes to. But you don't need to have your accountant in the same state. It's really a matter of preference. Most importantly, it's a matter of trust and comfort. You need to be comfortable with the relationship, and you need to trust that who you're working with is the best fit for you and your business.
Yeah, no, that's so dead on. Something you said there struck me, this idea that, if the right person is 2,000 miles away, that's where you go. If you have a medical condition that, the expert lives somewhere else, that is an expert in dealing with it, you try to go there if you can, or you go to the best mechanic you can. If your car is broken, when you'll get a good deal and it'll be fixed right. So that's so true. You definitely want to take care of your business by finding the right accounting professional. And it may not be one that's in the same area as you. All right, so let's move on to number 2. Now, the second myth that a lot of people have is that accountants only prepare taxes. That's not true, is it, Jared? Tell us about that.
No, I would love to tell you that I only work for 3.5 months out of the year, earn a nice living, and take the rest of the year off. But unfortunately, no, it's just not true. We don't just do tax returns. We do so much more. We do everything from operational accounting, which is operating your business, helping you function as a business, to the advisory side, which includes giving you the strategy that you need to help your business grow. Sometimes business owners, they get caught up in doing all of the work. They just lose sight of, I've got to be kind of working on this business rather than working in this business. And it's very beneficial to have, your CPA, your accountant helping you with that. That's really where we can come in and add value. It's one of the strongest value added benefits of having a trained professional, a trusted advisor working for you. On the flip side, with taxes, a good accountant, a strong accountant, is going to give you tax strategy. Anyone, and I truly mean this, anyone can prepare a tax return. That's not the challenging part of the work. The challenging part is seeing the numbers come to life and saying, hey, are we doing the best that we can do? Are we the most tax efficient possible? And a great tax advisor is going to help you maintain tax efficiency. So yes, we do taxes, but we do so much more than that. And really, if you're working with an accountant already, if you've got a CPA retained, talk to them about what else they can do for you. Don't be afraid of fees. Don't be afraid of change. It's worth the conversation, because they really can help you bring your business or even your personal life up to the next level. It's just, you got to have that conversation. I think it's really important.
Yeah, that's a great point. And, this idea that you really, when you hire the right accounting professional, you're hiring a business advisor, not just a tax preparer or somebody like a bookkeeper, so to speak. I think that's dead on. And that's something that, I've definitely valued about our relationship. And, I think when you find the right person that anyone who's out there is listening to this, they can find that accounting professional as well who will help them grow to whatever levels they want. So good stuff. Number 3. This one, this one's interesting to me because I think this one just is born out of maybe ignorance or maybe even fear here a little bit, Jared. And that's this idea that, you know what, accounting, it's not important. It's not necessary. I don't have to do that stuff. I've been keeping all my books. I mean, I write stuff down on the back of napkins I get from Shoney's, and it's perfectly legitimate to run my business that way. I don't need anybody to help me keep track of anything or figure out if I'm actually making a profit or not. I've got what I can look at my bank account and know how much money I've got, and that's all I need. That's good enough for me because accounting's not even really necessary. What do you think about that, Jared?
I just disagree. I mean, and sure, I'm going to toot my own profession's horn here, but it absolutely is necessary, and everything is relative, right? So it's for whoever's receiving the information, whoever has the information, it's only as important as they let it be to them. And so if they don't think it's important, if they don't think that there's any validation in the numbers, then they're probably never going to find value in paying somebody to help them with it. But it is absolutely important to know, are you, if you're a business owner, are you doing as the best you can? Are you making great profit margins as compared to your peers on a certain item or a certain service? Or are you spending your time, are you spinning your wheels? Are you getting a nominal return for all the time and effort you put into something? I mean, that's information that only comes to light once you start to put all the pieces together. And by ignoring it, I just think you're doing a disservice to yourself. The other side of that is, it is important to, as a business owner especially, it's important to keep track of your financials for a variety of reasons. One of which, of course, is doing your taxes. You don't want to get to the end of the year, not have done the books, try to put it all together, and figure out you've got a massive tax bill you've got to pay the feds or your state. I mean, it's not worth it. The other side of it is, if your business starts to blossom and you decide you need to take on a loan or you need to raise equity from investors, the absolute first thing that they're going to request from you is a set of financial statements. And without them, you're not going to get anywhere. And it can be a hurdle and it can be a roadblock by not having this information prepared ahead of time. So when you think about the benefits of having it all put together as you go, throughout the year, it's not only helping you evaluate in real time how well your business is doing, but when those times come where you're going to need the information for a third party, it's already available to you. And then come tax time, there are no surprises. You're already set for tax bills that might be due. You're already prepared for it. In the best case scenario, you've already paid into the tax system and you don't even have to think about it. But accounting, it's an important function. It's more than a cost center if you let it be. But you've really got to see the value in it to appreciate it before before you can commit to putting the money into it, I guess.
Right. That totally makes sense. And I think that myth, that it not being important necessary, I think that kind of keys into the next one. Because the next myth, and now, all right, now let's be full transparency here. Jared wrote this myth. So he's talking about himself in his own profession when he says this. But and I'm assuming this probably comes from, the perception you've heard on the part of clients or potential clients, or maybe just even stereotypes. But this idea that just accountants and maybe even accounting is just boring and therefore not important to me.
I can't speak for why everyone thinks that accountants are boring, but from having lived inside the machine for 10 years, I can tell you that we're a fun bunch. I mean, it's not all about just crunching numbers and staring at computer screens. I've seen the shenanigans that go on at the, big corporate levels, and I I have fun with my clients down at the Main Street level too, at the small business level. We're not a boring bunch. You know, we're not just the Miltons from Office Space who sit in the corner and mumble to ourselves and talk about burning the building down. You know, we have more to life than that. Especially myself, I'm a home brewer. I actually brew my own beer. I can't say that I've won any medals yet, but maybe one day. But it's something that I really enjoy doing. It's outside of my profession. I enjoy competing in sprint triathlons. I run quite a bit. I'm very active outdoorsy. You know, I like to get out and enjoy life outside of the office. It's not all about sitting behind a computer screen 80 hours a week cranking away at my work. So, you know, you even got Chuck Liddell. He went to school for accounting. He's clearly not practicing anymore, but it's just kind of one representation of where people in their past life, they were accountants and now they do something that's just, you know, a lot more exciting than accounting. And I get it. It's not like every profession has an on. We love it. It's always exciting 1,000% of the time.
All right. Well, all right. So that's a little bit about, you know, kind of the perception of accounting and, you know, some basic nuts and bolts. But number 5, Jared, I got to tell you, is probably the biggest hurdle for a lot of people. And probably for you as an accountant too, especially if you're dealing with small business owners who typically, you know, are mom and pop operations, maybe operating in their home, maybe a small storefront, what have you, or warehouse or office. And that's this idea that, you know, I understand that accounting is important. I understand that I need help with tax preparation and business strategy and, you know, my operations and so on. But man, I just can't afford it. It's just too expensive. So what would you say to those people, specifically those business owners?
I would say it's probably in the top 2 or 3 things that you can't afford not to have. You really have to look at it from the other side of the glass, where if you don't have someone working with you, helping you along the way, you're at risk for making really big mistakes. And it's only going to take one mistake to set you back the accountant's fee. And so when you think of it that way, you can really start to justify it pretty fast, right? Okay, so yeah, you know, you bring somebody in and they want to charge you whatever they want to charge you. You're looking at it as an expense. It's money out the door. You've got to pay this individual monthly, quarterly, annually, however often you agree to pay them to work for you. But the flip side is, if they're good and they're a strong accountant, strong CPA, they're keeping you out of so much trouble. They're keeping you in compliance with everything, keeping your business running well. They're bringing the problems to your attention months before they occur. And that's helping you make better decisions. That's increasing the likelihood that your business is going to thrive further through that startup phase than most businesses will. So when you think about the, you know, 70 to 80% of businesses that fail in the first 1 to 5 years, you don't want to be in that majority. You want to be on the flip side, the 20% that do succeed. And this will really help increase the chances that you're going to be around for the long haul if you're willing to put your money where your mouth is, you know, and kind of assess how serious are you about your business endeavor. If this is something that you want to take on to a serious level, then yes, I think that you have to really entertain hiring a professional to help you through the startup phases for sure.
Right. No, that's a good answer. I mean, again, it's a matter of perception. People look at, you know, when your money leaves you, you expect something in return, and you hope that whatever you get in return is worth how much ever you pay. And if someone is not really that cognizant of what, you know, a good accountant can do for them in their business, then they may think it's an expense they can't afford. But I think once they understand what the right accounting professional can bring to their business, that equation becomes something a little different, and they see that there is a lot of value there that can be brought with the right person.
Right,
So,
right. And let me add to that. You know, earlier I mentioned it's all about finding the right fit. It's about finding somebody you're comfortable working with, whether it's for a business or, you know, just personal use. It's really important to interview and vet out these professionals. Don't just accept that what they're telling you is
right.
the gold standard. Kind of source it from the crowd a little bit, and the crowd, the professional crowd. You know, maybe stay away from the message boards and such. But if you interview a handful of accountants and they all kind of give you the same answer, okay, then you can start to feel, okay, this is the direction maybe I need to go with, and then narrow down who from that mix do I feel most comfortable working with. Because that's really, you know, once you commit, you're kind of in it. Changing accountants is not going to be an easy thing in the long haul. So you really want to make sure that you hammer that out up front. But still, you owe it to yourself to interview and really do your diligence before you select who you want to work with.
Gotcha. Absolutely. All right, let's move on to number 6. And this one is a very common myth as well. And I have definitely been guilty of this one. I'm an internet trained accountant. There is such a thing, and probably not a very good one, honestly, because I see things and, you know, get about 75 or 80% of it, but that 20-25% I'm not getting is kind of critical. And that's this idea that, well, accounting's easy. I can do all this myself. I can handle it. You know, I've got QuickBooks or some other accounting software. So what do I really need a professional for? So what do you say to those people who have that sort of mentality, Jared?
I respect that everybody, there's definitely a big do-it-yourself mentality nowadays. We all feel empowered to do anything we want for ourselves. And that's the entrepreneur's attitude, right? We start a business because we feel we could do better than the guy we used to work for or the guy next to us. Doesn't matter. And so you start your business and you're going to do everything on the first day. And accounting, absolutely, everyone's going to do the accounting on the first day. That's just 99% of the time, that's how people see it. And it's not the basics. It's not putting the numbers together in the beginning. It's not when you have one revenue stream and you only sell 5 products and you just have a little bit to keep track of. It's when your small business blossoms and it starts to grow and the limitations start to come into play, and you've got the more complex accounting, the more complex strategy that comes into play. You know, QuickBooks, as great as a product as it is, I mean, I use it for my clients. You use it, Jason. I know that. All of the accounting software that's available on the market nowadays, it's great. But what it will never be able to do, or what it won't be able to do in the near future, is teach you accounting. You know, I went to school for a few years to learn everything I know and have many years of experience doing what I'm doing. It's really, really challenging to condense that down into a couple hours of training where I'm going to be able to transfer all that knowledge. And so that's where people, business owners, individuals need to respect the profession. They need to respect their own limitations and say, okay, I've had enough. I can't do this anymore. Or maybe they recognize I don't want to do it anymore. That's a best case scenario, because then you're doing well and you know, you're like, I'm going to hand this off to somebody else. But you really need to respect your limitations. Know that you're not going to learn accounting from using one of these tools. And it's, you know, the thought that it's easy, well, that's relative. I pick it up and say, yeah, this is maybe not challenging for me because I've been doing it so long. But I don't know, Jason, you seem to know a lot about the resellers community with what you do. I mean, it's not a foreign language to me, but you know things that I would need to sit down and learn by doing or by researching. It's just not something that I can't pick it up tomorrow. I'm not going to be highly successful at it like you are overnight. It's going to take me time. It's going to take some training. It's going to take some trial and error. So again, I respect that. And if it's something that I wanted to get into, I think that I would have to be okay with investing a little bit of time and money into learning how to do it the right way. And that's the other side of it too, is the right way. You know, accounting is easy, and that's what people think, but they don't know if it's right or wrong. I mean, if you're not a trained accountant, how do you really know if what you're doing is the right way? So I see it so many times. I walk into a small business and they engage me to work with them, and right off the bat, I have to sit them down and say, look, you know, you've been doing it wrong. And it's not a comfortable conversation, because you're basically telling somebody, you know, you don't know what you're doing. I have to fix this for you. And obviously I don't present that way, but you get what I'm saying. You have to really help people understand, as the trusted advisor, what it is that's been done wrong and how to fix it, and kind of what the repercussions of having done it the way they've been doing it, and what it would entail if it, you know, you continue doing it going forward.
Yeah, I think that a lot of people too, and you touched on this, is just they don't know what they don't know.
Right.
And they're never going to know that without, you know, the training and expertise. And that's the point. You know, there are things you can learn on your own for sure, but there's always going to be little nuances and details you're going to miss if you don't put in the time. And even then, you know, there's some things I would be comfortable doing. You know, I'm comfortable replacing the wiper blades on my car. I'm not so comfortable watching a few YouTube videos and replacing the transmission. You know, that's a whole nother level above a level. And you've got to decide, when is it more worth your time and energy, and you're going to get a better result by hiring a professional, whether it's an accountant or mechanic or whoever it is, versus trying to do it on your own. And I think that's the mistake a lot of business owners make. They think, well, I can do this all on my own, but there's always going to be things they don't know. There's going to be things that they're not taking advantage of, not just things that they can get in trouble for or do incorrectly, but things that, you know, hey, you could have done this and you didn't even realize because you didn't hire someone who did know.
Right. I mean, that's a solid point that you make there. And I saw a few instances of that. That's very common in the tax side of things. I saw a few instances of that this past season where, you know, I had to sit down with clients that had come to me for their first year of tax work with me and tell them, hey, whoever you worked with in the past, this is wrong. And whether it was self-prepared or another practitioner. So again, you know, make sure you're vetting out a strong, you know, tax accountant, regular accountant, CPA, whoever you want to work with. Make sure you're doing your homework on them. Make sure that you're reviewing the work that they get back to you. You ask questions. You know, when people don't ask me questions, it starts to make me think, well, they're not paying attention. And that's not what I want. You know, I want to know that my clients are keeping me on my toes too. So it's great to have that credible challenge coming back to me. So it's absolutely, it's both sides. It's not only what are you doing wrong, but then again, what are you missing out on? And how can we stop both of those from happening as we work together?
Yep, I totally agree. All right, let's move on to the last accounting myth, number 7. And this one's kind of funny to me. Like, I've never thought this, but when you sent me this, I can see, I guess, on some level, maybe why people might believe this. But this myth is that all accountants work for the IRS. Does that mean that, Jared, I pay your salary with taxes too?
No. And you certainly, if I ever have to deliver the news that you're not getting a refund and you in fact owe, you're not paying me the amount due. That doesn't come into my pocket, because I can tell you, I would be very well off from this past tax season if that were the case. No, we don't all work for the IRS. It's quite the opposite. When I work with a client, a tax client in particular, I am working inside the confines of the law to minimize their tax liability. I want them to pay as absolutely little as possible within the, the confines of the law. I don't want them to have to pay anymore. And that's exactly the value you're getting from hiring me, working with me, or any CPA, is that you're paying them for their knowledge and expertise so that you're compliant, you're within the box, but you're also getting the best benefit. I don't want my clients overpaying when it's not necessary. I don't, and I'm here to help act as a guide. A lot of people get nervous and they don't take advantage of a lot of the deductions available. I mean, one great example is, at this point, this is a great example. There's the home office deduction, which probably a lot of resellers probably actually take advantage of this, or should be if they're not. But the home office deduction, a few years ago, the IRS actually came out and said, so many people don't take advantage of it that we've gone and made a standard calculation so that they would encourage people to take advantage of this deduction. Because what was happening, people were just so terrified that if they took it, that it was going to, trigger red flags. And it was so much paperwork and so much to keep track of. The IRS just came out and said, okay, look, if you want to just take the standard on this, it's $5 per square foot. It's up to 300 square feet in your house, and that's it. We'll call it a day. Now, obviously you've got to do the math, and it's got to be legitimate, and it's got to work for your situation. But that's one example of something that's overlooked very commonly because people are afraid or they don't know about it. I mean, that's one example in a sea of so many other opportunities out there. So when you're bringing on an accountant, we do not work for the IRS, okay? And I know it sounds crazy because you get phone calls and people ask, hey, is this the IRS? And I I never know how to react. I never know what to say to people, but I'm like, no, I'm sorry, this is not, you've got the wrong number, but I can give you the number to the IRS. Or more commonly, I can help you with your IRS issue, your tax issue, which is really what I think people are looking for in those circumstances.
I feel like you should have a little fun with that, Jared, and say yes, and we know what you're doing.
I see everything.
That's great. All right, guys. Well, listen, that brings us to the end of our Accounting Myth show. And I just want to thank Jared so much for coming on doing this. He was hesitant to do this show, not because he didn't want to share his knowledge, but because he'd never done this format before. So this was something really new for him and a new approach to it. So thank you for that very much, Jared. You really did awesome.
Thanks, Jason. I really appreciate the opportunity. And, I look forward to coming on to your show again and again, and I'm happy to answer questions from your viewers or your listeners. So please, it's been a pleasure, and I look forward to continuing our relationship as well.
Absolutely, can't wait. All right, guys. Well, that's going to do it for now. So we will see you real soon. Leave us a question or comment down below, and consider subscribing to the channel. And go out there and have an awesome day. And remember, there's a lot of myths about accountants, so don't fall for them. Thanks again, guys, and we'll see you soon.